Hello everyone and welcome to the final race recap from Season 8 of the AOR Xbox 360 F1 League. We are here at the fantastic Interlagos venue for the Brazilian Grand Prix, the classic place to end a fantastic season in which the champion has already been crowned after the previous race in Austin, Xmarig having already secured it going into this race with a 39-point gap. There are still many championship positions to be sorted out here in Brazil, most notably the battle for second place where Fisi currently has an 11-point advantage over Tyrrell Rosberg, who again has an 8-point advantage over Tyrrell Limitless. Those three drivers though quite separated on the grid, with Tyrrell Limitless starting up in second place with Fisi in 6th, but Tyrrell Rosberg all the way down in 14th place after some serious struggles in qualifying leading to him not setting a time. On pole position though for this race we have Broshek96 with a very impressive lap time, and that could be crucial in the massive mid-table scrap for 5th place in the championship, with Broshek sitting bang in the middle of them in 7th place going into this race, on the same amount of points as KPDK92 who will start this race in 5th. While Tyrrell Minty, who is currently leading the way in the 5th place battle, will start the race from 7th, just ahead of his teammate Tyrrell Maisie. The other two 5th place contenders, Leobot and Fisi91, rounded off the top 10 on the grid, a top 10 which was only separated by 0.6 of a second, bear in mind, and has now a quick reminder of the championship situation before we jump into what was shaping up to be a very close race. Here we are then, on the grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix, the final race of the season, a 14-man grid ready for action around this fantastic circuit, on what was a cloudy day in Interlagos, but still apparently without any chance of rain. Broshek96 chilling out on pole position for the 3rd time of the season. The previous two he has not managed to convert into a race win, so could that change today as the race went underway with Tyrrell Martin getting a great start off the line, moving himself alongside Limitless on the run down to turn 1, but the wider line meant that Limitless managed to stay ahead in 2nd place, and luckily a very clean first couple of corners throughout the field, with one car flying about a bit with some lag up ahead, and Broshek had crucially managed to retain his lead from pole position. As on the straight down towards turn 4, Citizen got very close to Fisi, possibly due to some lag from the Norwegian, forcing the Sauber slightly on the grass, but Citizen did not give up. They went side by side through the corner, the Williams though holding on round the outside for them to go side by side up the hill towards turn 6, and unfortunately for Citizen, he had to give up due to having the worst line into the corner. And there was another battle going on up ahead with Tyrrell Maisie and Leobot getting side by side, Maisie though braking slightly on the curb and running wide, losing out to Fisi and almost Citizen as well. And back at the front, Tyrrell Martin was still challenging Tyrrell Limitless, trying to get him on the better line through the hairpin, but Limitless held on for the inside line through the left-hand kink, as Broshek head looked like it was pulling away slightly due to these guys battling. And coming into the final corner, Tyrrell Martin messed up his braking, hitting into the back of Limitless, going completely wide and doing some rallying on the grass. Limitless stayed on the track, but lost loads of speed onto the straight and lost out to his teammate Xmarig and also KPDK, but Limitless was right back on the attack after tucking back into the slipstream of the Williams driver and then pulling to the inside coming towards turn 1 on lap 2, nailing the braking zone perfectly to retake 3rd place, with Tyrrell Martin having dropped several positions down to 10th place, and he had made yet another mistake down into turn 1, again under braking as he locked his inside front tires, went completely across the runoff and lost another position to Tyrrell Rosberg as well, so another disastrous start for him after a good qualifying, just like in Abu Dhabi. And now on lap 3, a bit of wheel banging up ahead with Leobot and Minty going side by side through turns 1 and 2. Leobot trying to get the move done on the Ferrari driver in a feisty battle which seems to have resulted in the top 5 streaking clear a bit, potentially shaking the rest of the field out of DRS range, which could be crucial around here as DRS is vital down this massive straight, which Tyrrell Minty did now take advantage of, trying to repass Leobot coming towards turn 1, but Ferrari seemingly not having enough speed to pull alongside, which gave Fisi a great opportunity to dive up the inside of both of them. Slightly aggressive move, but somehow got it done without contact, but it looks like Leobot and Minty might have come together slightly just behind, as the Rosberg was now up to 7th, and he ended up getting very close to Fisi on the straight down towards turn 4, Fisi though covering the inside line to keep hold of what was currently 6th place on the track, and now definitely a huge gap up to 5th. A top 4 train which was still led by Broshek96, but he was having Xmarig all over the back of him on lap 4, soaking up the pressure, going through the hairpin, and he ended up not being able to deal with it as he messed up the traction zone, lost the back end slightly, got on the grass, and that allowed Xmarig the opportunity to slip through on the inside line into the final corner. Broshek also running wide after a little bit of wheel banging, getting very loose on the curb, and now getting put under pressure from the other Red Bull of Tyrrell Limitless, who got very close in his slipstream on the main straight before pulling to the left, emptying the rest rest of his curse energy to slowly pull alongside the Marussia. Both drivers having DRS now coming down towards turn 1. Could Limitless hold on to the inside line in the braking zone to make the Red Bull 1-2 in this race, but no, he locked his inside front, missing the apex, and then they both ended up colliding on the apex of turn 2 as Brožek seemed to move back across the track slightly, and this allowed KPDK to go from 4th up to 2nd place, and Limitless ended up in a weird spin, dropping him all the way down to 9th. Absolute disaster for the Red Bull driver. As here we have a replay of the incident. We can see Limitless locking up, and then both of the cars kind of move towards each other on the apex of turn 2, and it looks like Brožek might have lost his back end slightly, trying to get on throttle before the corner. Surely accidental, but Limitless ended up sideboard glitching down to 9th place. And here's now a replay of the continuation of the battle between Fisi and Rosberg for 6th place, which then turned into the battle for 5th because of Limitless dropping back. Fisi having defended the position well into turn 1, but then got under pressure once again from Rosberg, who had DRS on the run to turn 4. This time Fisi not feeling like defending the inside as Rosberg streaked past him already before the braking zone, moving himself up to 5th place after starting from last. Towards the back of the field there was a bit of a train forming behind Citizen from 11th down, and Living Dead decided that he didn't really want to be part of that train anymore, spinning off into the grass to get a break, and unfortunately for him, dropping him further behind the pack. But up at the front on lap 6, KPDK was starting to chase down race leader X-G, and at the top of the hill the newly crowned champion made an unusual error, running wide off the track and allowing KPDK a look around the outside of the long left-hander. But Matty wisely blocked off the line of the Williams to stay in the lead of what was now a very close 4-car train, with Brožek and Ricky C watching from the back as well. And Brožek and KPDK of course battling for position in the championship as well. Going into this race they are both on the same amount of points, 106 points, so whoever out of those two finishes ahead in this race finishes also ahead in the championship. And KPDK was keen to make it even harder for Brožek to beat him by potentially passing X-G, getting a great run in the main straight, but X-G then went straight down into the pit lane for a quite early stop after only 6 laps, but potentially a very smart move, with it looking like he would have been having to fight hard down into turn 1 to defend from KPDK. And a bit further down in the field, Liebert was having some struggles in the first couple of corners, which enabled Limitless, who was now on a comeback drive after his earlier incident, to get back up to 6th place. But coming towards turn 4, TraceMe92 suddenly appeared out of nowhere and got a massive run, claiming the inside line for the corner but missing his apex slightly, and Limitless turned into his car regardless and spun off his front right tyre, also causing Trace to spin off on the left hand side of the track and losing at least a part of his front wing. And it was yet another disastrous incident for TR Limitless. Another case of getting a bit too close to another driver and then getting caught out by the weird physics of the game, and this time it dropped him pretty much to the back of the field, meaning his hopes of finishing anything higher than 4th place in the championship was all but over. KPDK and Brožek though still battling for the lead of the race and for 5th place in the standings, and they both pitted for a fresh prime tires at the end of lap 7, leaving the pits in the same order they entered it, and all eyes were now across the pit lane barrier to see where X-G ended up in relation to KPDK, and there he is now just ahead, with Ricky C also coming down just behind, Ricky having also pitted on the previous lap and therefore jumping ahead of Brožek up to what was net 3rd in the race. But KPDK managed to just about stay ahead in 2nd and still be X-G's closest challenger, that being if he could keep Ricky C behind also going up the hill, and he managed to place his car pretty much in the middle of the track here, meaning Ricky C had nowhere to pass. The Williams driver keeping calm and nailing the braking zone as well for turn 8, and it would be interesting now to see if he could challenge X-G on 1 lap fresher tires throughout this stint. He certainly did manage to pull away from Ricky C slightly throughout the rest of that lap and sector 1 of the next lap, getting himself well into DRS range and setting a purple first sector in the process, only 0.3 of a second separating the top 2 in the race, although the Sauber of the Citizen was actually still in the lead of the race at this point, having still not pitted due to starting the race on the prime tires. But KPDK now solely focusing on X-G ahead of him. X-G of course already crowned the champion of this season as per the previous race in the United States, so he didn't really have anything to fight for here in terms of the championship position, but surely wanting to end off the season in style with a win, whereas KPDK had still not had a race win in this league, after of course having been demoted from 1st place in Monza due to getting a post-race penalty, and that time it was X-G who inherited that win, so KPDK having one final chance here to get a win win under his belt for this season, and it was certainly shaping up to be a feisty battle with KPDK closing now on the straight with DRS, setting the fastest lap of the race, clearly showing his pace but not being far enough alongside to have a move into turn 1, but he would be getting another chance if he could stay close enough to the Red Bull throughout the first 3 corners, as here now on the straight down towards turn 4 he got DRS once again, and this time he was even closer, perhaps expecting G to go defensive, but Matti stayed to the right, allowed KPDK up the inside, nailing the apex as if he had never done anything else in his life, getting the move done for what was currently second on track but essentially the lead of the race. And that of course was bad news for Fisi, who as it stands would lose out to his teammate in the championship regardless of where he was to finish in this race. And he was now getting attacked by Leobot, who went around the outside at turn 4, also getting put under pressure from Tyrrell Martin, who was trying to fight his way back through the field as well, getting very close and going side by side up the hill. Martin though on the outside line deciding to back off, probably a wise move as it is of course not particularly easy to hold it around the outside there. On lap 11 now, and a Citizen still out on the prime tires he started the race on, had finally been caught by KPDK, who, you gotta say, caught him in the right place, pretty much in the middle of the main straight, meaning he got a DRS advantage and could make an easy overtake to go up to the proper lead of the race. It did not work out quite as well for G though, as he was just too far back to catch him on the second DRS straight, and Citizen then, unintentionally or not, ended up on the inside line going up the hill, and being under no obligation to yield for the Red Bull, he kept his foot in and stayed on the racing line, forcing Matti to try to go around the outside, but that did not work out. He then thought about going up the inside, but there was no space there either, and Citizen clearly frustrating Matti, seeing KPDK pull away out in front. Matti once again pulling to the outside line into the hairpin, where a Citizen, luckily for him, locked his inside front tire, allowing Matti to cut back and get the position finally to chase after KPDK for the lead. And then it was Ricky's turn to get past the Sauber, and he made much quicker work of it, shooting up the inside into the final corner, Citizen doing well to leave him just enough space, and Brošek as well was able to slip through with ease, as the top 4 had all now reclaimed their rightful positions in the race. But KPDK clearly the true winner on that lap, with that battling leading to G being over a second behind, and would now have to rely purely on pace rather than DRS in order to catch back up. And it did not look like that was going to be the case, as on lap 19 now, and KPDK had extended its lead, almost doubled it, and now 2.4 seconds down to Ricky C actually, who had briefly passed Matti in the battle for second, but Ricky soon dropped back down again as he made a mistake coming out of turn 2, losing the back end, not only losing out to G but also both of the Marussias. And a bit further down the field, Leobot and Minty was still not done with her wheel banging, as they both lost speed through turn 4 by getting a little too close together, and Citizen, now on fresh prime tires, at least in comparison to the other two, was there to capitalize and move up to 8th place. Back up towards the front, and Tyrrell Rosberg was having another stonking drive. After starting from last, he was now challenging his teammate for 3rd place, and he got that position when Brošek got too hot on the curb coming out the final corner. But the Polishman, who started the race on the complete opposite end of the field compared to his teammate, did not want to give up, as G went into the pits on the left hand side. Brošek went to the right, coming into turn 1, braking late and then leaving room on the inside for Rosberg, but keeping the momentum to stay side by side going into turn 2 as well. But Rosberg got the better exit and managed to defend the position, and it looked like Brošek was now going to be put under pressure on Ricky C on the next straight, but DRS and Curse would have it otherwise, Brošek using it all to his advantage to actually pass his teammate back again with a good move into turn 4. Some good battling from the Marussia boys, who was on course to secure 2nd place in the Constructors with this result. And then at the end of the lap, Brošek did a Matti in going into the pit lane just while he was being challenged down the main straight, with Ricky C also following him in, and Brošek actually ended up being jumped by the Mercedes, as his pit crew was not keen on getting an unsafe release. And at the same time out on track, Fisi had temporarily moved into a podium position, but of course having yet to pit, and he was being passed by G, who had to see his rival for the lead, KPDK, come out of the pits over 2 seconds ahead of him. 2.5 seconds in fact, with both of them now having made their final pit stop of the season. So if KPDK could produce the same pace in the last stint as in the middle one, he was looking very good for his first win in this league. Fisi then also went into the pits at the end of the lap for his final stop of the season, and he rejoined the track in 8th place, quite a few seconds behind Tyrrell Maisie, but only just ahead of Tyrrell Martin, who was in the mood of setting fastest laps at this stage of the race, and Martin ended up getting very close to Fisi on the next lap, piling on the pressure in the middle sector on lap 24, trying to force a mistake from the Norwegian, who had to defend him to the hairpin, Martin going for the cutback, which again put them side by side on the kinky straight coming into the final corner. Fisi though still keeping hold of that inside line, which again meant Martin had to try for the cutback on the final corner and rely on his curse to pull him alongside, but he actually waited until a bit onto the straight to start using his curse, and he then pulled into the slipstream and back out to the left, now clearly getting a better run, going up the inside of the Williams into turn 1, and this time not messing up the braking that much despite missing the apex slightly. But oh no, Fisi did not want the battle to end just yet, as he used quite a bit of his curse and got DRS in on the straight, coming down to turn 4. Martin defending the inside line hard to try to stay ahead, but he just did not have the pace on the straight and decided to yield, but only temporarily, as he was once again back on the attack when they came back to the main straight. Martin again getting a great run and going up the inside into turn 1, and this time getting the apex for the corner much better than on the previous lap, meaning he also got a good exit out of turn 2, and Fisi this time was not close enough to repass into turn 4. Concluding for now what I must say as a completely neutral commentator was a pretty good battle. A few laps later, on lap 30, a third party decided to join the scrap, as Limitless on his quest to recover some positions had already passed Leobot and was now right on the back of Fisi, forcing the Williams to defend into turn 4, which he did by braking later and running Red Bull pretty much out of road on the exit. Slightly aggressive defending, which Limitless might not have appreciated too much, and he got very close again going up the hill on the next lap, almost hitting the back of the Williams into turn 7 and then definitely hitting him into turn 8. What looked like a misjudgment on the braking from the Red Bull driver led to Martin and Fisi both going wide off the track, letting Leobot drive through it all with a big smile in his face, gaining 3 positions at the same time. Same goes for Minzy, who moved up to 8th place, while the battle between Fisi and Martin now suddenly was for 10th place rather than 7th as before. Quite disappointing for the pair who had been fighting hard, and on the next straight, Tyrrell Martin mysteriously decided to give up on life as he suddenly pulled off to the side to let both Fisi and Citizen through. And Citizen was actually now a serious threat to the guys ahead, as he was now the only man on track on the faster option tires, and so it was an easy job for him to pass Fisi on the main straight on the next lap, pushing the Williams back out of the top 10. And a similar move happened simultaneously just ahead, with Limitless pulling off an easy DRS pass on Tyrrell Minzy for 8th. And the long DRS straight would end up annoying Tyrrell Minzy even more, as only a lap later it was Citizen's turn to draft past him, a move completed well before turn 1. Lap 36 was about to start, meaning the season was about to come to an end, with KPDK in a dominant lead as he started the final lap, a gap of nearly 5 seconds to XMediG in second. KPDK probably considering doing some donuts on the way to the line, and also considering what type of donuts to order after the race to celebrate the win, as it was certainly looking in the bag for him at this point. The battle for 7th place though were not quite in the bag just yet, but Limitless looked to have the move done as he pulled ahead of Leobot into turn 1, but he ended up braking slightly too late and missing the corner, giving the position straight back, before also losing out to Citizen, who showed great awareness to pull to the right as Limitless rejoined the track, while also staying full throttle to get himself ahead. And Limitless at this point probably just looking forward to the season ending. Another man who had not had quite a final race that he wanted was Fisi, but at least he tried to make it look slightly better for himself by moving back into the top 10 after some side-by-side action with Minzy through the first couple of corners, but Fisi, with the advantage of the DRS on the next straight, managed to get a move done to gain 1 point on Minzy, but that was 3 too few to pass him in the championship. And Fisi would also very annoyingly lose out to his teammate in the championship after KPDK had an amazing race here in Brazil after having showed great pace in the second half of the season generally, after taking some time to get up to speed earlier in the season. But here he comes weaving towards the line to take his first win in the AOR F1 League, ahead of XMediG and Tyrrell Rosberg rounding off the podium, and Ricky C and Brocek finishing behind them. And the battle for 7th potentially had one final trick up its sleeve, as Citizen was gaining very fast in Leobot's slipstream, going side by side towards the line, and Citizen got his wheels ahead to take that position from Leobot right at the final second of the championship, with Fisi finishing 10th and Martin deciding to end his season with a bang. So, the final race of the season ended with KPDK 92 taking victory at Brazil, with a 5-second gap over the new champion XMediG, who only just held on from Tyrrell Rosberg in the end. And then Ricky C and Brocek finished 4th and 5th 2 seconds apart, Tyrrell Maisie getting a solid 6th place after a pretty silent race for him, and then Citizen, Leobot and Limitless pretty much finishing inside each other, ahead of Fisi, who rounded off to top 10, while Minty just missed out. Another disappointing result for Trace and Living Dead, who finished well behind, although Trace actually somehow getting the fastest lap. So for the final Season 8 standings, here is how it looks. Xmanager won the title by 45 points over the Ricochet, who got a very impressive second place, only 8 points though ahead of Tyrrell Rosberg in third, who had also some fantastic races this season. But disappointment for Tyrrell Limitless, whose disconnection issues in the second half of the season, and also his poor results at Abu Dhabi and here in Brazil, moved him from a title challenger at one point down to finishing 4th. KPTK though, the big winner from today, moving himself 3 places up and finishing 5th in the standings, while Minty just about stays in 6th despite not scoring any points, Broshek staying in 7th place and Fisi right at the death, dropping to 8th. Leobot also not too far behind in 9th, but probably less than what he would have hoped for at the start of the season. And then there is quite a gap down to 10th place Citizen, followed by Contudins, Martin, Trace, Living Dead, Maisie and F1 X360 rounding off the table. As for the constructors, the Red Bull team of Xmanager and Tyrrell Limitless have been champions for a while now, but Marussia secures 2nd place ahead of Mercedes, and Williams also getting a top half finish, with Toro Rosso and Ferrari in 5th and 6th, and the Citizen's 7th place here actually moving Sauber ahead of Caterham in order to avoid the bottom spot. So there it is, Season 8 has finally been concluded, after 18 extremely action-packed races and a new champion being crowned in Xmanager. The next planned video in the official coverage of the AOR Xbox 360 F1 League will be a season review video of Season 9 on F1 2014, a season that has already come to an end at the time I'm saying this, so that season will get one larger review video to give you a look into the main battles and stories of the season, but without any proper race-by-race coverage for that season, as that will return with Season 10 on F1 2015, where we shall hopefully return with the highlights videos in its original format with the longer edits and Xmanager and co-commentating. So hopefully that'll be good and something you guys will be looking forward to. But for now, all I can really say is thank you very much for following the Season 8 coverage of this league. We'll be back in the near future for more racing action, so stick around and we'll see you then. Goodbye.